Hello, Parev. I'm Anush. Thanks for joining the Medz Mamas. Today I'm happy to welcome Talar Keoseyan, who will share her Medz Mama Elmon Piligian Mouradian. Welcome, Talar.
Thank you for having me, Anush.
Absolutely. Really excited to hear about your Medz Mama. So what is your first memory of your Medz Mama?
The first memory of my Medz Mama was this amazing and delicious pastry she used to make. It was a pastry that was called shakarov hats. So delicious and divine. It was like a floury dough that she fried and then drizzled it with sugar. The taste left an indelible mark on my taste buds, and her horkur taught her how to make the shakarov hats.
Oh, wow.
I was her only grandchild that was not close in proximity to her. So I was born in Aleppo, Syria. I moved to Philadelphia with my parents when I was 7 years old. So I have some memories of my grandmother from the time that I was in Aleppo. And one of the memories was holding my dad's hand and going to Nene's house for Easter. I did go to Syria I went back when I was 10, 16, 20, and 21. And we had so many wonderful times together. She was a cleanliness goddess. Like, she couldn't, even if she couldn't get up, she would make sure my cousins, my mom, me, my aunts, that we were always cleaning.
I noticed that you referred to your Medz Mama as Nene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We all call her Nene.
And then, what did your Nene Elmon or Medz Mama Elmon pass down to you? Like, what types of life lessons did she share with you, impart?
She always had a very resilient nature in her, so she would always tell all of the cousins, and especially me, to never give up, to be proud to be Armenian. You have to be proud of your heritage. You have to always speak the truth. And with me, she would always go back to the Armenian genocide and to tell me her stories of what happened to her. So my grandmother, Elmon Piligian Mouradian, she was only 10 years old at the time of the Armenian genocide. And she lost her two brothers, her sister, and both of her parents, as well as her extended family. My grandmother, Elmon, she would talk about her time at the orphanage in Aleppo. And she was at the orphanage because she was an orphan. Her horkur was the only surviving member of her family, so she had to work, and she couldn't take care of, a child at that time and do all the things necessary. But it was at this orphanage that she met my grandfather. And my grandfather, Natan Mouradian, had lost every single member of his family.
Oh, my.
Except he only had one cousin that survived. And it was interesting because both of my grandparents were from Yenichan in Sebastia. And she would just tell us the story of how she met my grandpa and then how, they got married and all of that.
That was another thing that would happen along the way. People would meet and get married, and they bonded so quickly because of out of necessity and also identity, and identifying with each other so strongly, especially during a period of that upheaval and trauma that the Armenian genocide caused. You have so much to be proud of your Medz Mama, and can you describe some of that?
She was a powerhouse. That's the way I see her. The stories that she would tell, she had a very strong will. And I think that helped her with, surviving this immense trauma. She would tell the story of walking Derzor with her horkur. She would tell the story of her siblings dying along the way, and it was very emotional for her. And emotional for me as the granddaughter of genocide survivors, knowing that this is the intergenerational trauma is within us. But I would always take away, every time she would talk to me, the takeaway was always be strong, be proud, be resilient. We've made it all these years and we're still going to make it.
That's right. Was there a special object she gave to you that had special meaning?
Yes. During the genocide, her horkur, she had gold coins that she sewed inside of her dress. Mm-hmm. And she kept those gold coins, and my Elmon Nene's horkur gave the gold coins to her, and she gave each of her grandkids one of those coins. So I have the coin, and it's one of my most prized possessions because of its sentimental value more than anything, because it came from my grandmother. It came from Western Armenia. And so I still have that, and I that's one of the tangible things that she gave me. Her resilience, her strength was absolutely a huge gift to me. My Medz Mama was a wonderful storyteller. So she told a story about the Ludzki Zachor Achchik, the girl that sold matches. Mm-hmm. And each and every single time that she used to tell the story, I used to cry. And the story was about an orphan girl that would have to sell matches to survive. For me, knowing my grandmother's story too, of her being left an orphan during the genocide and how much she suffered walking the desert of Derzor with her horkur, it really hit close to home for me.
You mentioned that the times that you, because of the distance, you would go back to different points in your life to Aleppo, Syria, to visit your Medz Mama Elmon. And when you were about 20, 21, did you know you were going to write books and how storytelling was so important to you as well? Was she aware of that at that point, if you were already on that path?
She did know that I loved to write, and she was very proud, and she would always say, my granddaughter that's in America loves being Armenian, and she was so proud of that.
Talar, if you could go back to a moment in time with your Medz Mama, what moment would you choose?
I think I would just choose that look on her face every time that we would come from America, and she would just, she would hug my mom, don't get me wrong, but she would hug me for like almost an hour. Like, don't go anywhere, stay here. I could still feel the hug. She had 5 beautiful daughters, and my mother and my aunt Keranush, who's in Haleb, who's in Syria, they're the only 2 surviving ones. But my aunts and my mom, they have such a great work ethic, and they're the way that my grandmother was with them, they were the same way with us, with my cousins and me, and making sure that we always had this thing of, being super proud of where we came from, and, also being active in the community, doing something, and helping people to know that, these atrocities happened to them, and they weren't, nobody has the right to invalidate that, and nobody has the right to even question that, because our ancestors went through all of this stuff. And my grandmother was very strong in her beliefs that, she had this thing for justice. She was like, sooner or later, justice is going to happen. And I really hope that's true.
What words of wisdom did your Medz Mama Elmon share with you?
I think a lot of the genocide survivors felt invalidated because the world really didn't come to their aid. It wasn't until, things were, and it's still to this day, we still have the denial of it. Her words of wisdom were always, don't forget your past. Your past is not something you forget. You need to honor your past. You need to because I believe she felt that with her passing that on to us, that, you know, she lived on, her legacy lived on, the legacy of her siblings that didn't make it from the genocide lived on, her parents that didn't make it lived on. And you know, I'm very proud of all of my cousins and all of their kids, because we all have been very proactive in spreading awareness and helping the cause as much as we possibly can.
If your Medz Mama Elmon were here right now, what would you want to say to her?
I would say to her, I love you so much. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for instilling such amazing values in me. I'm so proud to be her granddaughter, and that she was my nene, and she lives on it within me. She lives within me. She lives in my heart. She lives in my soul. I carry her legacy. My cousins carry her legacy. Rest in paradise, my sweet nene.
Oh, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending time to reflect and share your Medz Mama with so many people.
Thank you for having this wonderful platform. It really is so instrumental in recording our history.
Hachorochun.
No manabes. Thank you so much. Hachorochun Kezi.